Just to summarize that then, number one, allow people to pursue their interests. Number two, have a common set of metrics that everyone understands and that everyone is accountable for. And then number three, give them praise as they accomplish and as they develop and as they move forward.
Perfect.
This is Eric Anderton, and you're listening to Construction Genius, a leadership masterclass. Thomas Edison said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. If you're a construction leader, you know all about the perspiration, and this show is all about the 1% inspiration that you can add to your hard work to help you to improve your leadership. Welcome to Construction Genius, episode 18. My name is Eric Anderton, and today we're going to take a dive into a non-traditional approach to building a dynamic construction company. Mark Bly has worked in the construction industry for over 30 years. He has been on Dome Construction staff since 1981 and has been president and CEO since 2008. Before becoming president and CEO, Mark acted as project manager on Dome Construction staff for 24 years. His work experience prior to joining Dome includes heavy construction and electrical utility construction and design. To keep young, Mark has mentored 7 boys through Urban Services YMCA Building Futures programs. He is strongly committed to giving our youth every opportunity for their future. Both he and Dome Construction are sponsoring Urban Services Empowerment to Employment, Genesis Works, and Immaculate Conception Academy and All Stars Workforce Development programs to assist our youth to become productive. He's also on the board for the All Stars Project. My interview with Mark covers his prodigal son beginnings in the construction industry, how he returned and thrived at his father's company by building unique projects for companies like Genetech that he found interesting and challenging. We also explore how Mark avoids the traditional top-down command and control leadership model that many construction companies use in favor of pushing power out to a variety of construction groups that are responsible for developing and executing their own business plans, which integrate into the overall business plan of the company. Finally, we hit on Mark's advice for growing a construction company, his perspective on mistakes, and what Mark is doing to prepare his business to be passed on to the next generation. So join me for this interview with Mark Bly, CEO and president of Dome Construction. I know you'll find it extremely useful. My name is Eric Anderton, and it is my pleasure to welcome to the show Mark Bly, the president and CEO of Dome Construction, a leading general contractor in the San Francisco Bay Area. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Eric. It's great to be here.
Awesome. It's so great to have you with us. And I know we were chatting offline a little bit, just exploring your history. And we kind of struck on a very interesting way that you started your career in construction. And it was all around this idea of kind of being a bit of a prodigal son. So tell us a little bit about that, if you wouldn't mind, Mark.
Well, I was actually going back to where after graduating from college, I really did not have an interest in working with my father. Father, after a couple of years of me being away, finally convinced me to join, actually with the help of my girlfriend at that time. And I came back up to Dome in the San Francisco Bay Area. After working for my father for about 3-4 years, I decided that really the construction that Dome was into was not really for me. And decided, well, I really haven't done the enjoyment of life after college, so I decided to take to Europe for 4 months. Actually, my original plan was 3 months. And picked up a car in Europe and traveled all throughout Europe and had a wonderful time.
So your dad was the did he start Dome Construction?
He was one of the founders. It was 2 founders, Bill Diatri and my father, Anton Bly.
Oh, excellent, excellent. So you worked for him for a couple of years, or for a few years. You found it not really to your interest, and you decided to take off to Europe.
Exactly.
Cool. And how was your trip to Europe?
My trip to Europe was fantastic. Started off in Sweden in February, which was freezing cold. Never saw the ocean frozen up to that time. And went all the way down to Greece. It's an experience that I wouldn't have forgone.
That's excellent. So what brought you back into construction? Why did you return? Tell us about that.
So my plan was once I got back to the States to start looking for another job. And one of the project managers at Dome contacted me and said they landed a project, tenant improvement project for $1 million that required a full-time project manager, and they didn't have the staff for it. And I said, well, shoot, $1 million project, I can run that job and look for another job at the same time.
So your dad wasn't begging you to return to the business then, huh?
No, not that time. At least if it was not in a visible way for me.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. So the project manager reached out to you with this $1 million project?
Exactly.
Okay. And what did you find when you started working on the project?
So the project was an interesting little project in that ultimately we didn't realize it, but it was the first large-scale manufacturing for Genetech.
Ah. And what kind of company is Genetech?
Genetech is one of the founders of biotech pharmaceuticals. So,
interesting.
You definitely see them. One of the things I'd never even realized is that they were even named in the book and the movie Jurassic Park.
Uh-huh.
So those that are fans for Jurassic Park. In any case, and so building this large-scale manufacturing facility while we were just doing the interior architecturals, the walls, ceilings, flooring, non-process electrical. I got to watch all this fancy, shiny stainless steel work going in, the piping, vessels, equipment, and really took a big interest towards it and realized that really no one knew exactly how to build it. And we were all experimenting and had a lot of interaction with Genetech on the best way to approach these things. And ultimately, Genetech started saying, hey, we're going to start giving Dome direct work on doing this. And for me, having my initial major being science in college, doing this work at Genetech was truly interested. I was always trying to find out how things were happening and how we could improve the construction.
That's interesting. So this was about what time frame was this? Was in the mid 1980s?
This was 1985.
Okay, 85. And so you were working with Genentech, and so this wasn't your typical TI project or something like that. Is that right?
That is absolutely correct.
So those didn't really float your boat then, huh?
Yeah, I mean it was a little bit intriguing. I remember one time we built a wall, and then we left it there for them to hang all their pipe and equipment on there, and then they came back and said, "Okay, you need to paint the wall." I'm going, "Well, shit. There's only little gaps of the wall that we can even find. We should have painted the wall before they put all the equipment and pipes on there." So from there, managed to lead the process of saying, "Hey, sequence. Normally you do paint last, but in this case, we got to do paint far earlier." So we came up with new sequences of work.
That's interesting. Interesting. So that the type project led you to innovative approaches that you hadn't previously used then.
Exactly.
Interesting.
That was the fun part.
That's cool. So let me ask you, fast forwarding a little bit as you grew in your responsibilities at Dome, how did you apply that insight of finding a project that interested you? How did you apply that to the development of the larger organization of Dome Construction as you began to get into senior leadership?
Well, ultimately, the way Dome started going, we started getting more and more pharmaceutical work. And back in 91, then Genentech had a huge upgrade to their pharmaceutical plant that they were making a new addition to the building. And was about a $20 million construction project, and Dome, the largest project I had done for Dome at that time, was $5 million. And ultimately, we were awarded that project, which to me was, holy smokes, building a brand new, pharma facility for $20 million was just a huge project. And so I just pretty much dedicated my life. But from that, I realized there were a lot of resources we needed to do the pharma work. And
just to summarize that, then, number one, allow people to pursue their interests. Number two, have a common set of metrics that everyone understands and that everyone is accountable for. And then number three, give them praise as they accomplish and as they develop and as they move forward.
Perfect.
Oh, man.
Ended up working. By that time, my father had retired, and Bill Diatri was the sole owner of the company, and ended up working out with him so that I could lead a group that was specializing in doing pharma work.
Interesting.
And what we needed were people that had huge knowledge in mechanical systems, electrical, automation, piping systems, just to be able to meet with the specialized requirements, and managed to build a group that not only did work for Genetech, but Bayer. We did a huge project for a company called Genetech, and just continued to do it. And it was a lot of fun. We grew tremendously by becoming a known innovator and specialist in doing that type of work, and Dome prospered through it.
That's terrific. Terrific. So with that idea of you taking on a division within the organization, when did you become the president and CEO of Dome?
I became the president and CEO of Dome in 2008.
Okay. And as your career developed, what did you do with that insight of having a particular division? How did you use that insight of taking on something that interests you and something that you can do well? How did you take that insight in terms of the further development of the organization?
So it definitely became, for me, obviously, if you really enjoy your work, that's where you have your greatest accomplishment.
Yeah.
And for me, it was definitely key that we allowed the organization to have different groups to do the work that they really enjoyed, and that the groups themselves would be able to determine their destinies, what jobs they want to choose, what clients they want to choose, so that they're really engaged in that work. And the key factor is when those groups are doing their pursuing their work, you have to make sure that they have the parameters that they understand. These are the company goals, and that their goals mix with the company goals.
Yeah, interesting.
So, and I think that's a real key part of success and growth versus, having a command and control center where the CEO dictates everything, and the people just end up following whether they like it or not. And that, to me, that's a key factor for positive growth.
Interesting. So besides the Genentech type projects, what other groups have you guys developed over the years?
So when we've created the pharma group, we created a healthcare group for doing hospital. We also had a seismic group, which was big at that time in San Francisco. Obviously, the Loma Prieta earthquake in '89.
Yep.
And Dome was always into tenant improvement, so we had the tenant improvement group at that time.
Uh-huh.
Since then, what we did back about 3-4 years ago is we're not really calling them industry-specific groups, but we're much more about client-specific groups, so that the groups can chase after the clients and obviously some of the specialties that they're good at.
That's an interesting insight. So you can have a group that is industry specific, or you could have a group that's client specific as well, and get to know all the work within that particular client.
Exactly.
That's very interesting. Interesting. So what is the main insight that you've taken away from this group setup and this interest setup over the years? What's the thing that you've noticed that's been most impactful to you?
I mean, to me, it's the engagement of the people. It's the people being able to decide where their future is and the enthusiasm that they do. And as you make them think about, hey, what is my business plan for the next year? It gets them to educate themselves and to further them. And it helps prepare the structure for the next generation of leadership in the company versus, that once again, that leadership, if you have a company dictating everything down, the people below do not develop the leadership skills they need to grow the company.
So that's very interesting. So in terms of perpetuating the business even beyond yourself, this idea of people taking responsibility for a group and, having to do their own business planning, it helps to develop them as leaders. And it has that effect of hopefully perpetuating the company beyond yourself.
Absolutely. That is our goal.
That's interesting. That's terrific. So looking back on the way that your company's developed, if you could do it all over again, what's one or two things that you would do differently if you could?
The groups have evolved, where the groups initially had very limited responsibilities, and now the groups have far more responsibility. I would have definitely given the groups more responsibility right off the bat. But on top of that, what we're also trying to do is provide education and coaching for the group leaders and the associate directors for those groups so that they can evolve their skills. And I think we're probably a little bit late in doing that training. That would have been nice to have done that 5 years, 10 years earlier.
Okay, so just pursuing that idea of responsibility, why do you think leaders are reluctant to give that more responsibility to people? Why do you think that is?
It goes back to that old feeling about command and control, where the military used to be a huge command and control center. And what we're finding out is that that isn't working as efficiently as this delegation of doing control down. And I think we always thought that a central control system would be a better way of doing it. Plus, I think there's a reluctance of letting go power, and that people make mistakes. And yes, people make mistakes, but the lost opportunities by not letting go of that power is far more. It takes a bigger hit. Don't let go of that power versus letting people make some of their own mistakes.
Yeah, that's terrific. That's terrific. So let me just address that then real quick. What do you do to work with your folks when you've given them that responsibility and then they do make a mistake? How do you help them in terms of recovering from it, lessons learned, and moving forward in your role as a leader?
There is a position of, hey, did we do a mistake? How did we make the mistake? How do we avoid making that mistake in the future? And making sure that education, that learning is going across the groups. And so a mistake is not looked at as as something that's wrong. Okay. The mistake is, hey, we tried something. It didn't work. Here's what we learned from it, and make sure that the whole company benefits from that mistake. And so to me, a mistake is an opportunity.
Excellent. So that that's a mindset then in terms of mistakes that are made. It's an opportunity to learn and to grow and to move forward.
Exactly.
Excellent. So as we wrap up the interview here, Mark, just thinking about the folks who are listening to this, if I'm the president or the CEO of a construction company or a senior leader in a construction company, based on your 30 years of experience, what words of advice would you give to someone who's looking to grow their construction company?
So the way I would look at it is everybody has their interests. And what you need to do is understand those people's interests and encourage those people to pursue their interests. And once you understand that, then make sure you got parameters that they work through. I also believe that metrics are an extremely important way so that if you have multiple groups, they're all working towards the same metrics and understand what they need to accomplish.
Uh-huh.
It helps them select their clients. And then make sure you give them praises for their accomplishments. You got to be on top of it, making them feel that what they're accomplishing is something that's for the greater good of the company and for the greater good of what their clients are doing.
That's interesting. So just to summarize that then, number one, allow people to pursue their interests. Number two, have a common set of metrics that everyone understands and that everyone is accountable for. And then number three, give them praise as they accomplish and as they develop and as they move forward.
Perfect.
Oh man, that is awesome. That is awesome. Well, Mark, I really, really appreciate your time. I like to ask all my guests, and I think you may have a good answer to this before at the end of the show. Where is your favorite place to eat? If someone's going to fly into the San Francisco Bay Area for a vacation like many folks do, where would you say, hey, you've got to eat here before you leave town?
Got to eat here before you leave town. I like so many different restaurants. Having said that, just a couple of weeks ago, took a client out to a very, very nice restaurant. First time that I went to, which was a restaurant called Koi on Broadway.
Koi.
Koi, C-O-I.
C-O-I. Well, terrific. I really, really appreciate your time, Mark. Anything you'd like to say in closing here before we sign off?
It's been great having this discussion. It makes you think about what you've done right. And so I appreciate you asking me for it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, all the best to you. And thanks again for joining us.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Construction Genius. Hope you found that 1% of inspiration to help you in the next few days. If you like the show, please give us a 5-star review on iTunes, share it with other construction leaders who you think would benefit, and always remember that the show is brought to you by Kick-Ass Meetings. I've been working with construction leaders since 2004, teaching them how to run extremely effective problem-solving meetings that gets their people collaborating, taps into their creativity. And to get yourself a free copy of the Kick-Ass Meeting Report, go to www.ericanderton.com/kickassmeetings. Grab yourself that free report, read it, use it in your business. You'll find it extremely useful. And thanks again for listening.